going to work on lesson 61 today. Before you start, you need to read page 394 through page 396. It's important that you work with me on a piece of paper so you have examples to help you when you work through the written practice. Okay, so on page 396 we're going to start with letter A. And letter A says, what fraction of the rectangle is not shaded? So the first thing we want to do is we want to count how many parts the rectangle has been broken into. So we've got several parts here. Go ahead and number them for you. Let's go with, oops, my mistake. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click on this one here. We're going to number these. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 6 parts, all right? So we're going to start by writing our denominators. So our denominator is how many parts there are in the rectangle, and there's 6. Then we're going to count how many parts are shaded. All right, so in this one here, we just have 1 part shaded here. So our numerator is going to be 1. 1 part of the 6 parts are shaded. So 1/6 of the rectangle is shaded, but it says what fraction of the rectangle is not shaded. So not shaded is going to be the parts that aren't shaded. We have 1/6 shaded, and that leaves us with 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts are not shaded. So we know that there are 6 total parts and 5 of them are not shaded. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our question number B. This one here says 3/5 of the race was over. What fraction of the race was left? Well, we're going to look at this number here, 3/5. So we're going to write that down. We've got 3/5 of the race was over. What fraction of the race was left? Let's draw ourselves a picture. So we're going to draw a rectangle, and we're going to break it into 5 parts. So let's see here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're going to pretend those are all equally sized. And we know that 3/5 of the race was over. So we're going to go ahead and mark those by shading. We've got 1, 2, 3 parts are over. So we need to count the parts that are not over, the parts that are not shaded. We've got 1, 2. We've got 2 parts that are not shaded right now, and that means that 2/5 of the race was not over. So we're going to write our total number here. That's the parts that we broke it into. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to count the 2 that are not shaded, the part that's not over, which is these 2. And we're going to put that for our numerator. So 2/5 are not shaded. Now if we wanted to write a subtraction problem to find this without the picture, we could do a whole. So this is the whole part, 5/5. That's the whole. And we can subtract the part that's already been done. 3/5 of the race was over. So we've got 1 whole, 3/5 are done. If we subtract 5/5, we subtract 3/5 from 5/5, we end up with 2/5. So our answer was 2/5. So we need to label this also. It says what fraction of the race was left. So we would write 2/5 of the race was left. And then we can circle that answer. That was probably our better answer. We need to make sure we label word problems. Okay, we're going to go to C. This one here says find each missing number. Okay, so this one here is kind of fun. It's like a little puzzle. I'm going to start by writing the problem again so I can work with it. So we've got 2 times n equals 2 plus 8. The first thing I want to do is I want to make this a little simpler. So I'm going to combine 2 plus 8 by adding them together. So now we have 2n equals 10, because 2 plus 8 is 10. Now I need to get this letter n here by itself. I need n to be by itself. So I can say n equals a number, so I can solve for n. So I need to get n by itself. Now the first thing I can do is I can divide. I know that 2 times n equals 10. Well, the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide by 2. Because I know if I divide 2 by 2, I'm going to get 1. And 1 times n is n, which means n will be by itself. But if I divide 2 on this side, I also need to divide this side by 2. So that so the same thing happens on both sides. So if I know 2 divided by 2 equals 1n, or n, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So n equals 5. Now I can check this. I'm going to plug in the 5 for n to make sure that 2 times n equals 2 plus 8. So 2 times 5, because remember that was our n, equals 2 plus 8. So 2 times 5 is 10, and 2 plus 8 is 10. So check, we're good to go. This is our answer right here. Okay, let's go to the last question here. We've got 2 plus n equals 2 times 8. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write the problem out so I can work with it. 2 plus n equals 2 times 8. Okay, I want to make this a little easy to work with, so I'm going to start by doing 2 times 8, because I can solve that easily. So 2 plus n equals 16. 2 times 8 is 16. Now again, I need to get this n here by itself. I need n to be by itself, so I can say n equals something. So I need to take this 2 away. Well, when I take something away, I'm going to subtract. And if I subtract on this side, I need to subtract on this side too. Alright, so I'm going to subtract on both sides. I need to subtract 2 from here and 2 from the 2 and 2 from the 16. So let's go ahead and subtract 2 here, which leaves us with 0. And 0 plus n is going to be n. So I can just go ahead and write n there. And then on this side, I need to do 16 minus 2. And 16 minus 2 is 8. So n equals 8. Now I'm going to check it, just like I did last time. I need to make sure that I always check my work to make sure that it makes sense. So I'm going to rewrite the problem where I replace the n with the number 8. So we've got 2 plus n, but n is 8. So we're going to write 8 equals 2 times 8. So, Mr. Bruce might have made a mistake here. See, 2 plus n subtracted 2. Oh, here's my mistake. I messed up here. So we're going to go ahead and back up a little bit. I subtracted 2 and got the wrong number there. So let's go ahead and back up just a little bit. All right. So we have 0 plus n equals, well, we know that n equals, because 0 plus n is the same. So now we subtracted, we did 16 minus 2, and that's actually 14. So our answer was 14. Made a mistake there. All right. Okay, so let's go back to checking our answer. It's a good thing I checked, because if I hadn't checked, I would have put n equals 8 and it would have been a mistake. So I'm going to do this again. 2 plus, well, n, well, I'm saying n is 14, so I'm going to write 14 here, equals 2 times 8. Now we're going to check it. 2 plus 14 is 16, and 2 times 8 is 16. So we've got the right answer now. Good. So this is our answer. And that's it for lesson 61.